Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, they serve the same purpose. They're there for basically high marksmanship archery, level 3 archery, level 3 unit archery. The only problem is if he gets hit by a melee unit, he can't retaliate at all. His defense is worse, and he's just useless. You know, if he's got a melee unit on him, he becomes completely crap. Whereas the Charioteer doesn't. The Charioteer can melee pretty damn well, and has really good archery. So he's just a double threat. That's why I like the Charioteer better. Again, that doesn't mean the Centaur's bad. He's still a really good unit. He's just not better than the Charioteer. So if you have the option of building both, I would build the Charioteer. If you don't have the option of building both, he's still a really good unit. Leprechaun. I used to hate this ultimate, this level 4 unit. I used to never use him. I avoided him like the plague. It was because I was using him wrong. Just flat out. Completely using him wrong. If you try to use him as a melee unit, he's very slippery in that he's hard to hit with physical and magic attacks. When you do hit him, you can actually one-shot him with another level 4 unit. They have the damage to completely one-shot him, kill him in one hit. But he's very hard to hit. The problem is his offensive stats suck. And his only offensive ability is what? He gets one elemental strike? Yeah, that's it. So his offense blows ass as a melee unit. And his health is terrible. So if he does get hit, he's probably going to die in 1 to 2 hits from a strong unit. What that boils down to as a melee unit, he's kind of crap. Especially for a level 4 unit. He's kind of crap. That is how I was playing him. I was playing him as a melee unit and I was hating it. That's not what he's here for. He's got marksmanship 4 and magic bolts. You combine the two, he becomes a really good ranged unit. He's basically the Centaur, but with magic damage. They both have marksmanship 4. Magic bolts and archery have the same base stats, same base attack and damage. At least I'm pretty sure they do. Let's see, magic bolts. Oh no, magic bolts is higher. Interesting, it has more attack, so he's even better. He's even better than the Centaur. Because he's got 2 more attack per shot. Flat out. So yeah, the bottom line, I was using the Leprechaun wrong, period. He is not meant to be a melee attacker. He's meant to be a ranged guy using magic bolts with his marksmanship 4. That puts him at, what is that? 14 attack and 8 damage, or something like that. That is extremely respectable for range damage. That's really damn high. That's borderline matching the javelin shot, you know, which is a one-shot move. I mean, that thing has 16 attack. He's getting really high attack for a triple attack move, a ranged triple attack move. So yeah, he's a really good unit. It's just I wasn't using him correctly at all. If you ignore magic bolts and marksmanship 4, he gets a lot of random stuff, but none of it's really that good. Like True Seeing, extremely situational. Dispel Magic, situational. Taunt is garbage. Swimming and Forestry are map abilities. It allows him to go through water or forests. Not really that big a deal. Steel Enchantment is good, but again, it's situational. Sabotage, situational. Phase, you'd never want to phase with him. I mean, I don't know why you would. Maybe to run away, I guess? To make space? Maybe? I don't know. Blurred is the best ability he gets other than Magic Bolts. It means anytime he gets hit with a melee attack, he has a 25% chance to dodge on top of his ludicrous defense. So it makes him even harder to hit. He's probably the hardest to hit in the entire game. Unit. He's got really good defense and blurred together. Invisibility is crap. Regeneration, like I said, it usually doesn't matter much. He's got Elemental Strike in Magic, the most common and the most common resisted. Easily the worst Elemental Strike, but it is there. It is more bonus damage. But bottom line, really, he's just there for Magic Bolts and Marksmanship 4, and that's all he needs. It still makes him one of, if not the best, triple shot per turn ranged attacker in the game. I mean, that's some ludicrous amount of attack for 3 shots a turn. Oops, my tea bag fell into my tea. Hold up. Get out of the way, damn it. It's stuck on my straw. There we go. I'm drinking white tea. There is absolutely no difference between this and green tea. They just renamed it. I mean, it even looks green. It looks like green tea, tastes like green tea, smells like green tea. I swear they just renamed the box. But anyways, Leprechaun is not bad. Centaur is not bad. Sheriff is not bad. The Rogue is definitely good for level 2. But yeah, bottom line, Halflings are not anywhere near as bad as I used to think they were. They are not a bad race. I mean, if you look at their crappy units, they're very crappy. But if you look at their good units, they're very respectable. So, God forbid you use their level 1 units. They are terrible. But yeah, if you look at their respectable unit, or their good units, they're very respectable compared to the other races. So, they're not anywhere near as bad as I thought they were. Not even close. Cyrons. Cyrons are interesting. They've got a lot of really weird random abilities that you don't really see on any other units. Like, let me give you an example. Hurl Lightning. You don't see that on very many units. It's kind of a really random ass ability and I never liked it. But it's not terrible. It's just not great. They get a lot of lightning strikes, lightning protection, lightning immunity, all that crap. There's very few units in the game that use lightning. A couple of the summoned ones do, the Cyrons do. I can't think of anyone else. So having lightning immunity is fairly useless for the most part. Does not come into play very often. Lightning as an element is pretty good because it's not resisted very much. By the same token, it's not. Immunity is kind of crap for the same reason. Lightning strike is pretty good. So their level 1s are all crap. I don't think any of these abilities you haven't already seen, other than Hurl Lightning. All it does is it throws this little area attack, lightning attack. It does really low damage and has a low chance to static them, which is a stun. So it's an area attack with low damage and a chance to stun. It's okay. I never really liked it. I don't think we've seen Concealment yet, have we? Oh yeah, the Centaur had it. Like I said, all that matters is when you get in brush with this unit, they go invisible, basically, on the world map. If you get in brush, they're invisible. Very situational, not really that great. Their level 2 cavalry is pretty crap. Doesn't get an elemental strike. His stats aren't amazing. Doesn't get anything special at all. He's just not that great of a cavalry. Shadowrunner, on the other hand, is actually a really damn good level 2 unit. His stats are right about average, but his attack is pretty high for level 2, which is the most important stat for a melee unit. And more importantly, he gets an elemental strike combined with double strike, which means his damage is doubled. And then it gets 50% more per strike again on top of that. Really good damage potential. Really, really good. Even though 6 seems low, it's not at all. So yeah, really good damage potential. He also gets double immunity. Death immunity is one of the best to have. Lightning immunity is pretty blah, but it's there. It's something that he gets. So he also starts out with Shadow Walking, which means he can go into the Shadow World with no penalty. Because the Cyron are a shadow race. They're a race that's meant to be in the Shadow World. Mainly it comes down to Death Strike and Double Strike being on the same unit. That's really it. Like I said, Death Immunity is really good to have, but mainly it's his offensive prowess. His damage potential is really high, especially for a level 2 unit. Let's see, level 3, the Giant Warrior is okay. For level 3, he has mostly average stats. None of them are really bad, as you can see. They're all pretty average. His attack is a little bit higher than average, which is good. His abilities are mediocre. He gets an elemental strike and a bunch of random immunities. I think the only really good ones are fire and death, which are good. Actually, he gets poison too. I did not know that. So he gets fire, death, and poison immunity. He gets 3 good immunities, 2 more or less blah ones, lightning and cold. They're not going to come into play very often, but that's still 5 immunities on 1 unit. Plus he has an elemental strike. Wall crushing isn't bad, and his stats are average but not bad. So yeah, he's definitely not a bad unit. You know what he is? He's a better version of the Gargoyle. That's what he is. He's the Gargoyle if the Gargoyle didn't have terrible stats. That's what he is. Yeah. They both have an elemental strike. They both have pretty much all the resistances. I mean, all the immunities. I think the only one he's missing is magic. Let's see, lightning, cold, fire, poison, death. Oh, he's missing holy too. Okay. Holy's not that big a deal. Magic's very common. So he's really the only difference between them is the Gargoyle gets magic immunity, but he gets way better stats. He has like, what is that, 4 more attack or something like that? 2 more defense, like 7 more health. I'm going by memory here. Something like that. 1 more damage, 2 more resist, something like that. Way more stats. So yeah, that's what he is. If you straight up compare him to the Gargoyle, he's just better. And he's not a bad unit, period. Just even completely ignoring the Gargoyle, he's a pretty good unit overall. Not the best level 3, but pretty good. Definitely usable. Yeah, definitely usable. I'd say the Rune Master probably beats him out just because the Rune Master had more defense and more health and stuff like that. I think he had more damage too. Actually, let's go ahead and compare those two. Why not? We'll do another matchup. I like matchups. Rune Master. Let's see, they have the same attack. Rune Master has 2 more defense, 1 more health, same damage, 3 more resists, and slightly less movement. So all the stats that matter, the Rune Master wins. As far as immunities, he has magic, poison, and fire. Are those the only 3? I'm just making sure, in case I don't miss any. Yeah, magic, poison, and fire. He has fire, poison. He doesn't have magic, but in place of it, he has 3 other immunities, one of which is death. So yeah, he definitely wins in the immunity category. Loses in stats, wins in immunities. They both have a strike. I think he has what? Was it poison? Fire. He has fire strike. Okay. Fire versus lightning, I believe. And wall crushing. Oh, they both have wall crushing. Okay, good. I don't think anything else he gets really matters. Like I said, I never use units with leadership without bard skills, and there's only, I think, 3 of them in the game that have both. So him having leadership really doesn't matter to me at all. Yeah, they're pretty damn comparable, but the Rune Master wins just because of the stats. You know, having 2 more dubious immunities really doesn't make up for it. Really doesn't make up for it. The Rune Master is just a better unit. But yeah, he's still not a bad unit. He's just not great. Changeling is a piece of crap. His stats are terrible, and for his special ability, Changeling, to come into play, he has to kill something. Good luck. With 10 attack and 6 damage, those are terrible level 3 stats. Really bad. If he can manage to get the killing blow on something, he'll turn into them. Like, let's say you kill, I don't even know, like a lord or something, which, good luck. That's not going to happen, but let's say you kill some random level 4 unit, you turn into a level 4 unit. So you turn a level 3 unit into a level 4. Really all that's going to do is it's either going to get you a unit you do not have access to. Like if you don't have a undead town and you changeling into a reaper or something, good luck. But let's just say you do. You could have a unit you wouldn't normally have. The problem with that is it's very easy to take over one of each of the towns and then just have a town to build wherever you want from all the races. That's what I'm doing in my playthrough. So I just don't see the point of Changeling. It's too hard to get this to work, and it's too easy to build all the different units. So yeah, I hate the Changeling. And there's nothing else special about him other than this one ability. Astral Sprite, much like the Changeling, his only real special thing is Resurgence. What that means is if he dies in combat, 3 turns later, or if you win the battle, if you finish the battle, he'll come back to life. What that means for in combat, not so much. Very few battles last longer than 3 turns, and even fewer last more than, like, let's say 5 or 6. Assuming he dies on the very first turn, which is really hard, if the battle is fairly long, he might come back to life. He comes back at 25% health. Maybe. If you win the battle and you use him as like fodder, that's one purpose. That's a very valid use. Throw him out front, let him do some damage, let him get killed, let him absorb some abilities, and then die. And then you get him for free at the end of the battle once you've won. But as far as bringing him back in combat, 3 turns is a long time. You're probably not going to have that happen. As far as his overall use, he's got pretty average stats, slightly above average attack, slightly above average defense, horrible health. We're talking like 5 points below the average. Pretty bad damage, again like 3 points below the average, and really good resistance. Does that average out to a good unit? Maybe. With 12 defense, maybe his 5 less health doesn't mean as much. Plus he has Resurgence, so if he gets killed, he'll come back. His damage probably can't be compensated for. He has an Elemental Strike, but then, like I said, all level 3 units that brawl, they all have Elemental Strike, so that's not really a big deal. I don't know. His damage is going to suck, period, compared to pretty much anything. Mainly, he's there for cannon fodder. You know, he has Resurgence, so he's not a bad unit. He has a purpose, you know. He's the only unit that gets resurgence just straight up, as far as I can remember. Maybe there's one other one, but it's really rare. So he has a purpose. He has a defined purpose. And his stats on the whole aren't really terrible. They're just not great. He eventually gets lightning immunity, which is dubious, but, you know, whatever. Force ship would be an amazing unit if there wasn't an air gallery, which we'll go ahead and do a direct comparison right now. But yeah, force ship would be insanely useful if there wasn't an air gallery, but there is. So it's not. That's bottom line. Air gallery and force ship, much like the tank, are transports. They can carry units inside them and give those units their movement. Basically, let you get around the map faster. The difference between them is force ship has float, which is right there, floating, and then airship has flying. If you remember right, I went over the difference between the two at the beginning, but I'll go ahead and restate it. Flying units cannot be attacked by ground units unless they attack them first with a melee attack. If you attack them with a ranged attack, they can't attack you back, period. Flying unit, in this case the air gallery, shooting its javelin, shoot javelin ability, at a melee unit, there's no retaliation. They have no chance to do any damage back. A floating unit, on the other hand, all that means is they go over terrain on the world map without getting slowed down. In combat, all melee units can still hit them. So they have none of the advantages of flying in combat at all. They also have to go around walls. They can't fly over walls in sieges. So basically floating is a poor man's flying. Very, very poor man's flying. That one difference, floating versus flying, is the only reason I'd never use force ship. Air gallery is just substantially better because of that one difference. Fundamentally, they serve the same purpose. They're both transports with 40 movement. They both aren't affected by terrain as far as movement goes. They both have a ranged attack. They're extremely similar, basically, on paper. But flying versus floating, flying is just better in every way. Also, their ranged attacks are different. This one gets hurl lightning. You throw lightning out in an area and it does a little bit of damage and it may or may not stun. The difference is shoot javelin has really high attack and really high damage, so it's actually a damaging move. That's its purpose. Whereas hurl lightning is basically there for the possibility to stun. It doesn't do much damage. I can't say which one's better. They're just different. One of them's there for a status effect possibility. The other one's there for damage. On the whole, I'd probably rather have the javelin shot because I can actually kill things with it. But like I said, bottom line, it comes down to floating versus flying. This thing also gets static shield, which means if you hit it, you have a chance to get stunned. Just like if it hits you with hurl lightning, you have a chance to get stunned. This is if you hit it. It's the other way around. You have a chance to get stunned. Doesn't come into play a lot. It's a fairly low chance. He also gets magic relay. Basically, for all intents and purposes, it turns him into a hero unit. It creates a casting circle around your group, which means you can cast spells in combat with this unit without being in your domain, near one of your castles, basically. But that doesn't come into play much because you're probably going to have a hero anyways. So, magic relay is not really that big a deal. Static shield, not that big a deal. The little few things that it gets that are different than the air gallery are not that big a deal at all. And the air gallery having flying is just so much better. I can't tell you how many times I've run into a combat with just one air gallery. All of their units are ground units, so they automatically lost. They have zero chance of winning. I just take turns shooting javelins at them, one per turn, and eventually they all die and they can't touch me. That's the air gallery. Flying plus ranged attack. I think he's the only unit in the entire game that gets flying status and a ranged attack combined. He's basically invincible when it comes to fighting ground units. And he's a transport with, max movement and ignores terrain. He's just amazing. The air gallery is crazy good for what it does. It's crazy good. Let's see. So yeah, force ship is crap. Normally I'd say, oh no, it's only a little bit worse than the air gallery, and it's not a bad unit in comparison, blah blah blah. No. Get the air gallery. It's infinitely better. They're not even close. As far as the other units, the Astral Sprite has its place. Giant Warrior is pretty good. Shadow Runner is pretty good. I wouldn't say any of them really stand out as like a best unit for their level, But they're all good, all three of those. They're all, you know, decent units. Let's see, humans. Humans get basically crossbowmen. Like I said earlier, the dwarf crossbowmen. There's a dwarf and a human one. They're both really good for defending buildings. They're cheap. Their upkeep's low when they get fire crossbow, which can hit up to like level 3 units pretty reliably. God, if I could speak. Pretty reliably. So yeah, it's a really good unit for a level 1 unit. Their cavalry is terrible. Swashbuckler, it's another fire pistol unit with marksman 2, which means it can hit maybe level 3 units in a pinch. Maybe. That's pushing it. It's mainly going to be there for other level 2 units, which is kind of mediocre. The Knight, he's a crappy mounted unit. It's only really good at killing dragons. He doesn't have an elemental strike, doesn't have any special offensive abilities at all. Apparently he can eventually get Holy Champion. I didn't even realize that. So I guess he's actually good at fighting evil and dragons. Those two things. For more generic use, there's way better cavalry in the game. But yeah, for fighting dragons, he's basically guaranteed to hit them. He gets like +5 attack. That puts him at 19 attack. He's basically guaranteed to hit them every single time. And when fighting evil, he gets +3 attack and +3 damage. So he has his purpose, I guess. The Herbalist he's the better version of the Rogue. They both get poison darts. The difference is Herbalist gets, I think he gets more marksman, doesn't he? I don't want to say that and be completely wrong. Let's check. No, they get identical marksmanship. Wow. So yeah, maybe the Rogue is better. Obviously his stats are slightly different, but that doesn't really come into play as a ranged unit. Not very often. So yeah, he's more cost effective with the same marksmanship and the same ranged attack, poison darts. So maybe the Rogue is actually better than the Herbalist. The Herbalist obviously gets some other random ass abilities. Poison immunity, concealment, and blah. Poison strike, he's not a melee unit, it's never going to come into play. Forestry, who cares? He gets healing, but I've already said how much I hate healing in this game. Because you only get it once per battle, and it's not going to heal him for much. Really, when you break it down, none of that shit matters. It's just poison darts and marksmanship 3. So yeah, the Rogue is better. Just because he's more cost effective. He's the better unit. Period. I wouldn't have thought of that until I started doing these breakdowns today. I thought the Herbalist would have been better. I thought she got either marksman 4 or the Rogue got marksman 2 or something like that. No, they're the exact same amount of marksmanship. That is ridiculous. So the Rogue is even better than I thought he was. Wow. Interesting. It doesn't mean the Herbalist is bad. She's just a little bit more expensive for the same thing. Obviously, if you can make the Rogues, make the Rogues. But if you can't, she's still a good unit. Still a good ranged unit. The Chaplain is a piece of crap. He's one of the few units in the game that gets Bard skill and leadership, like the Chieftain or the Sheriff that we went over earlier. The difference is, he's a piece of shit unit. He gets Bard skill and leadership, but that's all he gets. I mean, look at his ability list. It's crap. And then his stats, crap. Look at his attack, crap. He's a piece of crap, basically. There's no reason to use the Chaplain. He's terrible. I already went over why the Air Gallery is amazing. Probably the most generically useful level 4 unit. Yes, he's not going to get in brawls and take out, you know, other ultimate units most of the time, but for his overall use, really, really good unit. Really, really strong. The Knight has his place. The Crossbowman's really good. Probably be those 3 for human. Those would be the ones I'd actually use. And only use the Knight situationally. Like if I'm going after Draconians or something. Because he can beat up dragons. Tigrans is a pretty crappy race overall. Let's see. This thing's crap. Throwblade, it's a shitty version of archery if I remember right. It actually might be the same as archery, I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and double check. No, it's a shitty version of archery. It's got 1 more attack, but it's got half the damage. So in theory, you'll hit more often, but the damage is so fucking low. What kind of marksmanship does it get? I'm curious. Okay, so it gets marksmanship 2, which means it would go up to 11-4. I don't know. I can't say that's terrible. because it's some pretty good attack. You're not going to be doing much damage when you do hit, but at least you'll be able to hit. Normally I'd say attack is more important than damage, but with a unit that has no abilities at all, in this case it's a ranged attack which can't even proc abilities, probably not as useful as damage. They're probably about as equal. Like one attack for one damage would be about equal for ranged attacks. But yeah, pretty crappy unit. It only goes up to marksmanship 2. Maybe they'll let you hit, level 2 units fairly reliably. That's about it. Hunter's a piece of crap. It's terrible. Its stats suck. Its abilities suck. It just sucks. Firecat is decent. It's a ranged unit just like the throw blade guy, the Shredder. The difference is an elemental attack, fire, which is on the whole better. Same amount of marksmanship. It also gets fire immunity eventually, which is decent. So yeah, this is a decent level 1 unit, actually. Yeah, it's a decent level 1 unit. The Catmaster, it's a really shitty unit in comparison to the Horse Archer, which I haven't gotten into yet. We'll go show the matchup real quick. The Horse Archer is a level 1 cavalry archer. Level 1 unit with 36 movement and archery, and eventually marksmanship 3. Level 1 unit. That's fucking amazing. It is easily one of the best level 1 units in the entire game, if not the best. It's really damn good. If you compare it to the Catmaster, which is a level 2 unit, which means it has 3 more upkeep cost per turn, the Catmaster just doesn't stack up. It really doesn't. It has less movement, it has the exact same amount of marksmanship with archery, and it costs more. It's a piece of crap. I mean, if you had to use this and you had absolutely no way of getting horse archers, okay, fine, But when you compare the two, they just don't compare. The difference in movement, which is huge, and the difference in upkeep cost, which is even bigger, for the exact same benefit, a marksmanship 3 archery unit, it's just worse in every way. The Prowler is a piece of crap. Has no elemental strike, has below average stats. Really all he gets is these random ass, somewhat useful offensive abilities that I just don't care about. Maybe if he got an elemental strike and that stuff, he might be useful, but he doesn't. So yeah, and his stats averages are just terrible. So the Mystic is a random mismatch of all kinds of crap. I don't understand it. Below average stats, gets an elemental strike, but more importantly gets double strike on the same level 3 unit. The problem is, she doesn't have the attack stats to back it up. I mean, an elemental strike plus double strike would normally be badass. But with 9 attack and 6 damage on the level 3 unit, no, it just doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know what they were thinking. The game designers, I don't get it. She also gets magic bolts and marksmanship too, which is decent. But, I mean, even compare that to, fire bolts and marksmanship 2 for a level 1 unit. That's 2 levels difference for the exact same functionality. So yeah, I mean, magic bolts and marksmanship 2 just does not cut it on a level 3 unit. Does not cut it at all. She also gets a bunch of other random crap. She gets blurred and phase and true seeing and steel enchantment, magic immunity, all kinds of stuff. Double strike. None of it fits, She's not good enough with magic bolts for that to be her main attack compared to other units. And her physical stats are so bad that her physical abilities are useless. She's just a really weird mishmash of garbage. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, terrible unit. Manticore, one of the best flying cavalry. It's actually not cavalry, so there's no one riding it. But fundamentally, it's the same thing. It's got 40 movement and it flies. One of the best in the game. In this case, it has an elemental strike, poison strike, arguably the best elemental strike in the game. It's not resisted much, and it's poison, which is amazing. So yeah, also gets charged, but then all cavalry do. Also gets poison immunity for the hell of it. But yeah, it's just one of the better flying cavalry-like-ish, whatever you want to call it, units. In theory, it's probably slightly worse than the Flyer, which is arguably the best. But they're pretty close. The Flyer has Magic Strike instead of Poison. Poison Strike's definitely better, but the Flyer also has better stats. I think he has like one more attack, and I think it's one more damage or something like that. So yeah, they're pretty close though. Beholder. Beholder's one of those units that's just fucking amazing. Really, really, really strong. His base stats are complete garbage, but he's a ranged attacker. And as I've said before, your stats really don't matter if you're a ranged attacker. In this case, it's Doom Gaze. You add in Doom Gaze with Marksmanship 2, it starts out with pretty high attack, and ends up being... Actually, I don't want to get it wrong, so we'll go ahead and look it up. Yeah, 16 attack. You add in 2 more Marksmanship, that's 18 attack. That is crazy. That's going to be hitting like ultimates with no problem. So, really good attack. And the damage goes up to 8, which is respectable. Basically turns it into... Yeah, it turns it into like fire cannon without the damage. Yeah, it's got the attack rating of fire cannon, but what is that? 6 less damage or so? You think that'd instantly make it worse? No. If this hits, it paralyzes the target. If they're paralyzed, they lose their turn. If you repeatedly paralyze them, they never get a turn. So not only does this have ludicrous attack and respectable damage, but it basically screws people out of their movement and attack. They can't do anything. They have to just sit there. And on top of that, it's ranged, which means they can't even get to you. So yeah, Doom Gaze is crazy good. Really, really strong. That one move right there is what makes Beholder good. I mean, he doesn't even need marksmanship, honestly. Even if it was just at 16 attack, that would still be an amazing move. And it would make this unit crazy useful. So yeah, the Beholder, I underestimated him for so long, but he is really, really good. Assuming you have a Beholder, one Beholder for each of their units, you can just constantly spam Doom Gaze on them and paralyze them over and over again until they die. That's how good Beholder is. Some of the ultimate units are going to eventually resist. They're not going to get hit. But even at the base attack, 16, that's still a really good chance to hit, even ultimate units. So, Beholder is a beast. Seriously underestimated him. Really strong. Let's see, level 4 Sphinx. I used to like the Sphinx quite a bit more than I do now, mainly because I've realized how good the Incarnate is. But yeah, the Sphinx kind of suffers in comparison to the Incarnate. You straight up compare the two and the Sphinx just loses. I'll go ahead and do the matchup. The Incarnate is the ultimate for Dark Elves, which is probably my second favorite race in the game. But the way it works is, the Sphinx has Dominate. Dominate is a mind control move. If they have willpower, you have to drain will, but if you've leveled up the Sphinx even one metal rank, you get drain will. So what that means is, if drain will hits, which it has like base 20 attack or something ludicrous like that, it's gonna hit. You're gonna take their willpower away. And in the next turn, you can dominate them and turn them to your side. Turn them into one of your units for free, basically. The problem with it is, and there's two problems. The first problem is, dominates once per match. And the second problem is, it's only got, I think it's 15 attack, which is respectable, but with it once per match, if it fails, you don't get a second chance. So that is really, really hard to quantify how useful that is, you know? I mean, even if this, like if the Doom Gaze was once per match, even if it was base 18 attack, paralyzed once per match, it would be crap. So it's really hard to quantify how useful Dominate is, considering it's very random, whether or not you're actually going to dominate anything. Especially ultimate units, even if it's, 15 or 16 attack, and it has a decent chance to, to dominate them. If it fails, the Sphinx is basically a paperweight. Its stats are well below average for the most part, especially its damage. But, it just doesn't stack up to the other bruisers, the other brawlers, the other ultimates. It doesn't stack up. Its only thing it has that makes it special is Dominate. And if Dominate fails, you might as well have had something else that was actually going to, kick the crap out of stuff. Like a Lord, or a Titan, or a Reaper, or, so many different ultimates. Just, the Sphinx doesn't stack up to them at all. All of this, everything I've said so far, is completely ignoring the Incarnate. I'll get to that in a minute. But the Sphinx gets Magic Strike, which means a single elemental strike. Most of the good level 4 brawlers, they get two different elemental strikes, and that's it. That's his only offensive ability at all. It doesn't get a single other one. For an ultimate, that's pretty pathetic. He gets 1 immunity. Again, almost every ultimate gets at least 2. Pathetic. So yeah, if you look at its abilities and its stats, they just don't match up to other ultimates. All it has is Dominate to make it special. And that's once per battle. Keep that in mind. And it can fail. Once per battle, and it can fail. So yeah, when you compare the Sphinx to the Incarnate, however, it's basically complete garbage. The Incarnate has better stats on the whole. Why did I say stats? Better abilities. Sorry, better abilities on the whole. And also, the way its mind control ability works is better than Dominate. For one, it has infinite uses. It's not once per battle. You can use it as many times as you want. And for two, it basically gives you a second life as an Incarnate. What it does is, the Incarnate possesses the target, flies inside the target. Let's say I fly inside a Sphinx. Let's say we've got a Sphinx and an Incarnate fighting. Okay? Let's say I fly inside the Sphinx. I get to play as the Sphinx until it dies. When it dies, my Incarnate pops back out at full health. So the Incarnate effectively has 2 health bars. 2 completely different lives. And once it pops back out, because Possess has infinite uses, I can just Possess again. Are you starting to understand how much better it is? You can Possess, fight until you die, Possess, fight until that dies, Possess, fight until that dies. Just possess your way through their army. Whereas Dominate is 1 use. 1. And it can fail. And if it fails, you don't get any benefit out of it at all. None. So yeah, Possess is infinitely better. On top of Possess, look at all these abilities that the Incarnate gets. It's pretty ridiculous. Multiple immunities, tons of them. I mean, look at this. Poison, cold, death, fire, lightning, tons of immunities. On top of that, it gets physical protection, which we haven't even seen yet. The way physical protection works is if you get hit with a physical attack, the most common attack in the game by far, it's like 75% of the attacks in the game are physical. This cuts the damage in half. Physical protection is extremely rare and extremely good. So on top of these ludicrous immunities, all physical attacks are immediately cut in half. It also gets pass wall, which means in sieges, it doesn't have to worry about breaking through blockades or fortifications or whatever. It can just fly over the wall and possess something and start its rampage, basically. Obviously, it gets Drain Will. You don't have to level up to get it, like you do with the Sphinx. And then it gets a couple other piddly crap, too. But, yeah, it's just, its abilities are better, Possess is better. It's just better. It's better than the Sphinx. They're not even comparable. The Incarnate just beats it, period. In functionality, in practice, on paper, everywhere, it just beats the Sphinx. I used to love the Sphinx for Dominate, but that's because I never used the Incarnate. You know, I never realized how good it was. I think back then I didn't know that Possess had no limit to its uses. I thought it was only 1 use. But yeah, the Incarnate's just better in every way. So yeah, I don't even think the Sphinx is worth using. Again, even if let's just say you don't even have access to the Incarnate, I still wouldn't use the Sphinx. Because Dominate is too random. And without Dominate, it's a crappy level 4 unit, just bottom line. Every other level 4 unit in the game beats it without Dominate. So yeah, I wouldn't even use the Sphinx, period, regardless. So out of Tigran, I'd say Beholder is one of the best units in the game, definitely good. Manticore, either the best or second best flyer, cavalry, mounted unit thing, whatever you want to call it. Both really good units. And I think that's it for the Tigran. Firecat's pretty good for level 1. I don't use level 1 units much, so it's really kind of moot. Doesn't really matter. Let's see. Draconians are probably my 3rd favorite race in the game. Yeah, 3rd favorite race. Hatchling is interesting in that it has Draconian growth, which is really cool. It allows it to turn into a higher level dragon, assuming it lasts long enough, which is actually pretty cool for a level 1 unit. It's basically turning a level 1 into a higher level unit for free. All you have to do is use the unit and level it up. Very cool ability. The Charger is so-so. It's really only good against flying units and mounted units because of Polearm. The way that skill works is it gives it bonus attack when fighting those 2 types of units. Actually, it's a enhancement. Let's see. Where the hell is it? There we go, Polearm. 3 attack, 3 damage when fighting mounted or flying. 3 attack and 3 damage is quite a huge boost. That's like Holy Champion, buff, for free. As long as you're fighting mounted or flying. Mounted and flying are fairly rare. I wouldn't say rare, but they're not the most common units. The most common units by far are ground units. But assuming there are mounted or flying, that's a huge bonus. So it is a decent buff when it comes into play. Barring that, if you ignore Polearm, if he's not fighting mounted or flying units, he's pretty crap. Flamer is decent in that he gets Fire Breath. Problem is he's so damn weak as a level 1 unit that you're going to get to use it maybe once and then he's going to die. So there is that. Fire Breath is a good ability. It's a cone that hits, in an area in front of him and has a chance to set them all on fire and give them the burn debuff and all that good stuff. But you're only going to get it off once before he gets, whacked in the head and killed, sadly. Because Fire Breath is really short range. You're going to have to get right up on the enemies. And he just doesn't have the defensive stats to stay alive. So, yeah. Very situational. The Crusher is a piece of crap. He's got below average stats, maybe right at average stats for the most part, but his abilities are crap. Slither is, I think he gets Venomous Spit and Marksmanship 3. If that's all you're using him for, then he's not bad. His other abilities are kind of crap, his stats are kind of crap. But as far as just a straight up level 2 ranged unit with Marksmanship and Venomous Spit, he's okay. Elder is he's like the Chaplain, if the Chaplain actually had a ranged attack, which he should. I don't know why he doesn't. But he gets Bard Skills and Leadership, and then he gets, Magic Bolts and Marksmanship combined. Problem is, and it's a fairly big problem, he only goes up to Leadership 2, not Leadership 3, and he only goes up to Marksmanship 2, not 3 or 4. So he's mediocre as a leader, and he's really mediocre as a ranged attacker. Honestly, if I wanted a ranged attacking leader, I'd use the Sheriff. He gets Leadership 3, Fire Pistol, and Marksmanship 2. So yeah, if that's what I wanted, I'd use the Sheriff, not this guy. That doesn't mean he's bad. It just means he's not quite as good as the other two. The Sheriff or the Chieftain, in my opinion. Flyer, best flying, mounted, 40 movement guy, whatever you want to call it. Again, he's not mounted, but most of them are mounted. So he's basically the equivalent to flying cavalry. But definitely the best of the bunch, just because his base stats are higher than any of theirs. He gets an elemental strike, and that's really all he needs. Bottom line. I mean, 40 movement, higher than average attack, quite a bit higher than average for level 3. And average stats all around, elemental strike, that's all he really needs, honestly. He also has charge, which it also says a lot, because usually only mounted units get charge. But he's basically the equivalent of that, so they went ahead and gave him charge. But yeah, really useful unit. Plus, one of the abilities that you don't see here is regeneration. All of the races in the game get a special building that they can create at their castle, and it gives either some kind of benefit to how much growth rate they get when their city is expanding, or how much money they get when they produce merchandise. Something like that, some kind of numerical gain. Or it gives them a buff when they get sieged. When someone attacks their castle, they get a buff. Their entire team gets a buff. Or the third possibility, it gives every unit that's built there an extra ability. In this case, for the Draconian, it gives every unit that's built there regeneration. So, one of my favorite tactics is to have 8 flyers after I get the regeneration buff, and then fly around as regeneration, 8 flyers, 13 attack, magic strike. Being flying, I get to pick my fights. If one of them gets low health, I just stop attacking with him, and all the ground units can't touch him. And because he has regeneration, after the fight, he automatically gets all his health back. So basically, they're infinite sustain flying units, with decent stats. 8 of them. It's really hard to beat that. You either have to have really strong ranged units, or you have to have really strong flying units. That's it. That's your only options to beat that. But yeah, really, really fun. A full group of these with regeneration. Really, really fun. But yeah, even without regeneration, it's still a great unit. Even without regeneration, it's still the best of this type. 40 movement, flying, brawler unit. Let's see. Hydra. I used to like the Hydra quite a bit more than I do now. They're meant to get into melee range and brawl, but they just don't have the defensive stats to manage it. They're like right at average for level 3. And on top of that, their offensive stats are kind of crap. Even if you factor in double strike, which they get for their damage, 11 attacks, it's like bone stock, average. It's very iffy whether or not you're going to hit things. So yeah, I just don't like them as much as I used to. I don't think they're bad, but I just don't like them as much as I used to. Even factoring in double strike. They also get poison immunity, not really that useful most of the time. Just depends. Regeneration, they would have gotten that anyways because of the building, but they get it, from the start. Spread attack, it's basically like round attack, except it doesn't use his stats. It has a set amount of stats that it uses, I think. Let me see, what is it? I can't remember exactly what they are. Spread attack, 14-6. So actually, spread attack has better attack. It's actually overall a better move. It has 2 less damage, but it has 3 more attack. Huh. Of course, it doesn't get, 3 shots per turn, and it doesn't activate double strike. So if you factor all that in, his regular attack's still better, even with 3 less attack. But, because that's 6 attacks per turn. But yeah, the way spread attack works, it works like round attack. If they're surrounding you, you get to hit them all once. It's not a bad move. It's just not great. But he doesn't really have the defensive stats to throw him out front and let him use it. It's not like the tank, where he has 14 defense, 14 resists, and like 35 health, He's not a tank at all. So it's really hard to use spread attack effectively. Mainly he's there just to double strike stuff. But, if he had better attack, he might be a truly great unit. 11 attack's just a little bit too low. As it is, he's not bad. He's just not great. Red Dragon, fucking amazing. The best flying unit in the game. Nothing really compares, in my opinion. I can't say that. There's a lot of units that the races can't build in this game. They're called neutral units. Some of them are as good as the Red Dragon, like the Black Dragon. You can't normally make him. He's a neutral unit. But he's as good as the Red Dragon. But as far as ones you can actually make, the Red Dragon's the unequivocal king of flying units. Fire Breath's crazy good. Has a chance to burn everything in an area in front of him. Really useful. He gets Magic Strike for, when he wants to bite things. He gets Cause Fear, arguably the best offensive ability in the game. At the very least, it's one of the best. Fire Immunity, one of the best immunities. What else? He gets Shadow Walker for free, I guess. Whatever, that's cool. Marksmanship for his Fire Breath, so it hits more often. Vision for the hell of it, in case you want to roll around as a Red Dragon with, scouting. Scouting with a Red Dragon. He's just good, and his base stats are really good too. Look at that 16 attack. 12 defense above average, 25 health. Probably roundabout average for level 4, maybe a little bit below. His damage is definitely low for level 4. Resistances are above average, movement is above average. Really the only thing that lets him down is maybe his health a little bit and his damage. But he's flying, he's got amazing attack, he's got really good abilities. It's just a really good unit, period. Probably the biggest downside with him is he can't trade with the Brawler level 4 units. Like, if you take on a Lord with a Red Dragon straight up, the Lord's going to win. Or if you take on, like, a Reaper straight up, the Reaper's going to win. So, he pays a lot for being a flying unit as far as his stats and even his abilities. He has good abilities, but he doesn't have, like, dual elemental strike or life steal or any of that stuff. Really, his only offensive ability other than Magic Strike is Cause Fear, which is good, but it doesn't make up for, the huge difference between him and the other Brawler level 4s. But having said that, he's still really, really good. Being flying, he gets to pick his fights. He gets to choose when he wants to attack. So yeah, really good unit. Overall for Dragons, Draconians, Red Dragon really good, Flyer really good, Elder's okay. I suppose the Flamer as a suicide unit, kind of like the Berserker, it's pretty good. But yeah, probably my third favorite race, just because I love flying units in this game, they're just so good. And Draconians have Flyers and Red Dragons. You combine the two, they're basically the best two player-created flying units for level 3 and level 4. The best level 3 and the best level 4 on the same race. So yeah, really, really good. Frostlings on the whole are a piece of crap. Their Mammoth Rider is pretty good. He's got above average stats, really good damage, and he has Charge and Wall Crushing and eventually Cause Fear. I've already said how good Cause Fear is, and he has an immunity. The biggest letdown for him is he doesn't have an elemental strike, but his base damage is so high that he doesn't really need it. So yeah, he's a good unit. He's a good mounted unit. Not amazing, not the best in the game, but good. And then the only other one is the Doom Wolf. The only other one even worth mentioning is the Doom Wolf. He's this giant-ass wolf. He gets Cold Breath, which is not as good as Fire Breath, but is good. It's very handy to have. He gets Marksmanship to increase its attack. He gets 1 Elemental Strike, which is a big letdown. He's basically a ground-based brawler unit with only 1 Elemental Strike and no offensive abilities. His only real use compared to the other ones is Cold Breath. That's it. That's what makes him special. But that in and of itself does not make him worth using compared to them. If you want a breath attack, use the Red Dragon. I mean, not only is Fire Breath better, but the Red Dragon is flying and has Cause Fear, and all kinds of other badass stuff. So overall, the Doom Wolf is one of the worst ultimates. Not bad, he's just not good compared to the other ones. I guess by extension, someone has to be bad, so yeah, he would be bad, I suppose. The other ones that aren't good, the Yeti's just a mishmash of garbage. I mean, none of his stuff makes any fucking sense at all. He's not offensive. And as far as like tanking goes, he doesn't have the stats to manage it. He's just a mess. He really is. None of those abilities are new, other than Snow Concealment. It's the same as Concealment, except it only works in the snow. So, very self-explanatory. The Ice Drake Rider, one of the worst flying mounted units. If the Flyer and the Manicore and the Pegasus Rider are the best, the Ice Drake is one of the worst. Frost Witch, another elemental ranged bolt user with only 2 marksmanship. Same problem as all the other ones. It's really hard to hit higher level units. In this case, she's using Frost Bolts. As far as her other abilities, it's just a mishmash of crap. She gets a strike, but her stats aren't good enough to use it. Trucing, Swimming, Snow Concealment, bunch of random garbage. And then everything below there is just crap. Actually, this guy goes up to Marksmanship 3. With Archery. It's not terrible. I'd still probably never use him. The reason I don't use the on-foot archers, the reason I'd use the Centaur or the Charioteer or whatever, is because they have huge movement. These guys don't. The Centaur and the Charioteer and, what's the other one? All those have double the movement of the ones that are on foot. So you're talking about around about the same damage for double the mobility. And usually better abilities too. So it's just not worth using these level 1 archers. Honestly. So yeah, for Frostlings, it comes down to Mammoth Rider is pretty good, and the Doom Wolf probably isn't worth using. If you compare him to every unit in the game, obviously he's good, but if you compare him to other ultimates, he's kind of crap. He really is. He just doesn't compare to the other ultimates. So yeah, maybe he's garbage. I guess Mammoth Rider is the only one I'd really use, honestly. I just don't like Frostlings. Same for Elves, like I said earlier. They've only got 1 unit I'd ever use too, and it's also a cavalry unit, the Iron Maiden. So yeah, I don't like Elves and I don't like Frostlings much. Nomads, my overall favorite race in the game. Why? Because every single one of their units is good. They're not all great, they're not all amazing, they're not all the best units of their type in the game, but they're all good. You can't say that for any other race in the game. Not a single other race in the entire game is every single unit they get at least good. At least, passable. Decent. The Spearman gets Throw Spear. Again, like I said earlier, from the other Throw Spear guy, the Archon one. This lets you kill level 2 units in 1 shot sometimes. Basically turns this unit into a level 2 unit for 1 attack. Barbarian has some of the best melee stats for level 1. He's just a really good brawler at level 1. I doubt he could give the Berserker a run for his money, but he's still close. Not the best, but one of the best for level 1. Horse Archer, I've already said it earlier when I did the comparison, they're fucking amazing. They've got mounted movement with Archery and Marksmanship 3, and they're level 1, so their upkeep is non-existent. They're crazy good. Djinn, decent stats, unusually high damage. And what really makes him interesting is eventually he gets flying. So he becomes kind of like a pseudo-mounted flying unit, like comparable to the Flyer and the Manicore and all that, but he's 1 level below them. They're all level 3, he's level 2. So he's got a little bit cheaper upkeep cost. He also gets a couple of immunities, both of them are of slightly dubious value. He gets an Elemental Strike, just like the Flyer and the Manicore and the Pegasus Rider and all those good ones. The biggest difference is his stats are going to be lower because he's level 2, and he gets Whirlwind, which is this area damage attack that knocks things back away from him. It's an interesting attack, and he's the only one that gets it. Problem is, it's really random and kind of scatter things all over the place, and I don't know. I never really got into it. I never really liked it much. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, he's probably up there with the other ones just for the fact that he's level 2. And he gets an elemental strike and is flying and all that cool stuff. Whereas, like I said, the other ones are level 3. So he's a whole nother upkeep category compared to them. So he's a really good unit. He's just not the best. Elephant Rider, he's basically comparable to the Mammoth Rider. But again, the Mammoth Rider is level 3, he's level 2. So the stats are going to be less, but they're comparable. He's just one level below. He gets the same abilities, wall crushing and charge and all that. Really good health too for a level 2 unit. That's really amazing health. But yeah, decent unit. Slaver, he's a pretty crappy unit until you take into account Trap. The way Trap works is it's basically Seduce if you could use Seduce 3 times a turn or 3 times a battle instead of 1. What it lets him do is you can make a group of a couple of slavers, like maybe 2 to 3, send them out on their own, and anytime they get in a fight, you just start trapping things. And the way Trap works is first it paralyzes them, and then after I think it's like 1 to 3 turns, they can be enslaved. They basically become charmed. They become your units. So with a couple of slavers, you can create your own group. You know, all you need is a couple of them, and they'll go enslave things and create a whole group to go scouting and fighting and stealing things and whatever. So they have their own niche that no one else can really fill. You could say that the seducing people can, but it's one use versus 3. You know, it's not really comparable at all. So yeah, the slavers are really good at what they do. The chieftain, like I said, the best for leadership. He gets bard skills, he gets leadership 3, and he can slug. Pit guard, he's like a poor man's beholder in that he can single target paralyze, but his is melee range, whereas the beholder's is significantly ranged. It's got a really long distance to it. So he's not as good as the beholder for that one simple fact, but he still serves the same purpose. He just puts himself in more danger doing it. So yeah, still a good unit, just not the best of his type. He also gets Cause Fear and really average stats overall. So if he does get into melee, he can at least fear them and have them panicking and running away for a turn, in theory. But yeah, he has extremely average stats for level 3. I mean, nothing is really standing out. His attack is maybe 1 point above average, but everything else is just literally average as all hell. But like I said, Strangled's basically not as good as Doomgaze, but, you know, if you don't have Beholders, here you go. Pit guards are pretty good. The Rock is a fairly big letdown, considering, like I said, everything up until this point is either good or great. In the case of like the Chieftain and the Horse Archer, they're unequivocally amazing. But everything else for the Nomads is at least good. The Rock is at the very least below average. I'd say it's still better than maybe 3 of the other Ultimates. It still has more use than them, but that still puts him below average, considering how many Ultimates there are. There's 15 races, so 15 Ultimates. That would put him at, what, 4th worst? Yeah, like I said, that's still below average. So he's definitely a below average unit. He's not terrible, he's just not good. Let's put it that way. When you break down his stats, they're not terrible. He's basically comparable to the Red Dragon. They serve the same purpose, flying units. They have fairly similar stats. It's when you get into their abilities where the Rock kind of falls apart. 16, 12, 25. Yeah, see, very comparable. 1 less defense, 1 more health. 10, 14, 40, 2 less resists. So yeah, he's trading 1 defense and 2 less resists for 1 health. Obviously, that's not a fair trade. The Red Dragon has better just base stats. Not a huge difference. The 1 defense is a very small change, and 2 resists are almost never going to come into play. So it's a very small difference in stats. Like I said, it's when you start getting to the abilities. The Rock has Magic Strike, Grasp, which is a special ability. I'll get into that in a minute. And that's really it. That's all he has. He has 1 offensive ability and a special ability. The Red Dragon, on the other hand, also has Magic Strike, has Cause Fear, has Immunity, and has Fire Breath. All that stuff wrapped into one. So yeah, if you break down the abilities, the Red Dragon just kind of beats him, period. The special abilities, which would be Fire Breath versus Grasp, it's not even close. Fire Breath is just better. It's an area attack, it can burn, the burn status effect's really good, and it can do damage on top of that. All Grasp does is it grabs one unit, throws them, and does a little bit of damage. That's it. One unit versus an area cone attack. This has a status effect, this doesn't. They both do damage. This one does damage in an area, this one does damage to one unit. So you can see, they're not even comparable. Fire Breath is infinitely better. So yeah, by comparison, the Rock just kind of sucks. When you compare it to the Red Dragon, its competitor, it kind of sucks. But overall, I'd say it's, yeah, probably like 4th or 5th worst ultimate in the game. It's down there. It's definitely below average. But everything else about Nomad is either good or really good. So they're still my favorite race, period. Even though level 1s, they all have a purpose. Horse Archer's fucking amazing. Barbarian's either like 2nd or 3rd best brawler for level 1. It's double immunity. Death immunity is one of the best to have. Lightning immunity is pretty blah, but it's there. It's something that he gets, so... he also starts out with Shadow Walking, which means he can go into the Shadow World with no penalty. Because the Siron are a Shadow race. They're a race that's meant to be in the Shadow World. Mainly it comes down to Death Strike and Double Strike, being on the same unit. That's really it. Like I said, Death Immunity is really good to have, but mainly it's his offensive prowess. His damage potential is really high. Especially for a level 2 unit. Let's see, level 3, the Giant Warrior is okay. For level 3, he has mostly average stats. None of them are really bad. As you can see, they're all pretty average. His attack is a little bit higher than average, which is good. His abilities are mediocre. He gets an elemental strike and a bunch of random immunities. I think the only really good ones are fire and death, which are good. Actually, he gets poison too. I did not know that. So he gets fire, death, and poison immunity. He gets 3 good immunities, 2 more or less blah ones, lightning and cold. They're not going to come into play very often, but that's still 5 immunities on one unit. Plus he has an elemental strike, wall crushing isn't bad, and his stats are average but not bad. So yeah, he's definitely not a bad unit. You know what he is? He's a better version of the Gargoyle. That's what he is. He's the Gargoyle if the Gargoyle didn't have terrible stats. That's what he is. Yeah. They both have an elemental strike. They both have pretty much all the resistances. I mean, all the immunities. I think the only one he's missing is magic. Let's see, lightning, cold, fire, poison, death. Oh, he's missing holy too. Okay. Holy's not that big a deal. Magic's very common. So he's really the only difference between them is the Gargoyle gets magic immunity, but he gets way better stats. He has like, what is it? Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, they serve the same purpose. They're there for basically high marksmanship archery, level 3 archery, level 3 unit archery. The only problem is if he gets hit by a melee unit, he can't retaliate at all. His defense is worse, and he's just useless. You know, if he's got a melee unit on him, he becomes completely crap. Whereas the Charioteer doesn't. The Charioteer can melee pretty damn well, and has really good archery. So he's just a double threat. That's why I like the Charioteer better. Again, that doesn't mean the Centaur's bad. He's still a really good unit. He's just not better than the Charioteer. So if you have the option of building both, I would build the Charioteer. If you don't have the option of building both, he's still a really good unit. Leprechaun. I used to hate this ultimate. This level 4 unit. I used to never use him. I avoided him like the plague. It was because I was using him wrong. Just flat out. Completely using him wrong. If you try to use him as a melee unit, he's very slippery in that he's hard to hit with physical and magic attacks. When you do hit him, you can actually one-shot him with another level 4 unit. They have the damage to completely one-shot him, kill him in one hit. But he's very hard to hit. The problem is his offensive stats suck. And his only offensive ability is what? He gets 1 elemental strike? Yeah, that's it. So his offense blows ass as a melee unit. And his health is terrible, so if he does get hit, he's probably going to die in 1 to 2 hits from a strong unit. What that boils down to is as a melee unit, he's kind of crap, especially for a level 4 unit. He's kind of crap. That is how I was playing him. I was playing him as a melee unit, and I was hating it. That's not what he's here for. He's got marksmanship 4 and magic bolts. You combine the two, he becomes a really good ranged unit. He's basically the centaur, but with unit. He's got really good defense and blurred together. Invisibility is crap. Regeneration, like I said, it usually doesn't matter much. He's got elemental strike in magic, the most common and the most common resisted. Easily the worst elemental strike, but it is there. It is more bonus damage. But bottom line, really, he's just there for magic bolts and marksmanship 4, and that's all he needs. It still makes him one of, if not the best, triple shot per turn ranged attacker in the game. I mean, that's some ludicrous amount of attack for 3 shots a turn. Oops, my tea bag fell into my tea. Hold up. Get out of the way, damn it. It's stuck on my straw. There we go. I'm drinking white tea. There is absolutely no difference between this and green tea. They just renamed it. I mean, it even looks green. It looks like green tea, tastes like green tea, smells like green tea. I swear they just renamed the box. But anyways, Leprechaun is not bad. Centaur is not bad. Sheriff is not bad. The Rogue is definitely good for level 2. But yeah, bottom line, Halflings are not anywhere near as bad as I used to think they were. They are not a bad race. I mean, if you look at their crappy units, they're very crappy. But if you look at their good units, they're very respectable. So, God forbid you use their level 1 units. They are terrible. But yeah, if you look at their respectable unit, or their good units, they're very respectable compared to the other races. So, they're not anywhere near as bad as I thought they were. Not even close. Sirens. Sirens are interesting. They've got a lot of really weird random abilities that you don't really see on any other units. Like, let me give you an example. Hurl Lightning, magic damage. They both have marksmanship 4. Magic bolts and archery have the same base stats, same base attack and damage. At least I'm pretty sure they do. Let's see, magic bolts. Oh no, magic bolts is higher. Interesting, it has more attack, so he's even better. He's even better than the Centaur. Because he's got 2 more attack per shot. Flat out. So yeah, the bottom line, I was using the Leprechaun wrong, period. He is not meant to be a melee attacker. He's meant to be a ranged guy using magic bolts with his marksmanship 4. That puts him at, what is that? 14 attack and 8 damage, or something like that. That is extremely respectable for range damage. That's really damn high. That's borderline matching the javelin shot, you know, which is a 1-shot move. I mean, that thing has 16 attack. He's getting really high attack for a triple attack move, a ranged triple attack move. So yeah, he's a really good unit. It's just I wasn't using him correctly at all. If you ignore magic bolts and marksmanship 4, he gets a lot of random stuff, but none of it's really that good. Like True Seeing, extremely situational. Dispel Magic, situational. Taunt is garbage. Swimming and Forestry are map abilities. It allows him to go through water or forests. Not really that big a deal. Steel Enchantment is good, but again, it's situational. Sabotage, situational. Phase, you'd never want to phase with him. I mean, I don't know why you would. Maybe to run away, I guess? To make space? Maybe? I don't know. Blurred is the best ability he gets other than Magic Bolts. It means anytime he gets hit with a melee attack, he has a 25% chance to dodge on top of his ludicrous defense. So it makes him even harder to hit. He's probably the hardest to hit in the entire game. You don't see that on very many units. It's kind of a really random-ass ability, and I never liked it. But it's not terrible. It's just not great. They get a lot of lightning strikes, lightning protection, lightning immunity, all that crap. There's very few units in the game that use lightning. A couple of the summoned ones do, the Sirens do. I can't think of anyone else. So having lightning immunity is fairly useless for the most part. Does not come into play very often. Lightning as an element is pretty good because it's not resisted very much. By the same token, it's not. Immunity is kind of crap for the same reason. Lightning strike is pretty good. So their level 1s are all crap. I don't think any of these abilities you haven't already seen, other than Hurl Lightning. All it does is it throws this little area attack, lightning attack. It does really low damage and has a low chance to static them, which is a stun. So it's an area attack with low damage and a chance to stun. It's okay. I never really liked it. I don't think we've seen concealment yet, have we? Oh yeah, the Centaur had it. Like I said, all that matters is when you get in brush with this unit, they go invisible, basically, on the world map. If you get in brush, they're invisible. Very situational, not really that great. Their level 2 cavalry is pretty crap. Doesn't get an elemental strike. His stats aren't amazing. Doesn't get anything special at all. He's just not that great of a cavalry. Shadowrunner, on the other hand, is actually a really damn good level 2 unit. His stats are right about average, but his attack is pretty high for level 2, which is the most important stat for a melee unit. And more importantly, he gets an elemental strike combined with double strike, which means his damage is doubled, and then it gets 50% more per strike again on top of that. Really good damage potential. Really, really good. Even though 6 seems low, it's not at all. So yeah, really good damage potential. He also gets